Hello everyone, this is another episode of 10 for the Chairman. So for those of you who haven't seen it before, this is where I take 10 questions put forward by subscribers and try to answer them to the best of my ability. For those of you that don't know, subscribers are the portion of our community that kick in a little extra money every month to allow us to do extra community content. So this show, Wingman's Hangar, the Jump Point magazine that we do, and some other upcoming stuff, and it's allowing us to actually hire a little more manpower or woman power on the community front to allow us to do a better job of sort of sharing how we make the game with you. So thank you to our subscribers for doing that. I will get to the questions, but first I just we've come back from the dogfight sort of announcement reveal that we did in PAX East in Boston, which despite a few technical troubles, seemed to have gone over quite well, and everyone's support. We had a nice event in the Boston Royale on April 10th, and it was a lot of fun. It was really nice to sit and meet a whole bunch of people, and in fact, I got a couple of things here where we were sort of given nice gifts from people who were there. This is a nice little plaque for the occasion of the dogfight reveal from Michael Villa-Smith. So thank you very much, Michael Villa-Smith. And then this was an incredibly cool glass, I guess that's a hawk or eagle or something like that, but it's from Equitas, Interstellar Risk, which is one of the organizations that we have in the game, and they're sort of mercenaries for hire, and they all came to the event dressed up in really cool cosplay outfits, and so it was really nice to get this and for them to share that. So thank you very much for that too. But it was a lot of fun at the event, even though I got blown up a few times in multiplayer because I couldn't control my ship, and then the servers crashed. And I haven't lived down crashing into the landing pad in the previous part of the demo. But hey, that's what happens when you don't slickly rehearse it, but that's part of, I think, the charm of what we do on Star Citizen. Okay, so let's get to the first questions. So the first question comes from Terra Titan Opticon, who says, say I'm in a Hornet taking damage and I need to open the canopy and get out before I'm killed. Now I'm in my 0G in my EVA suit. How would I get back to a planet or a space station? Do I need to wait for a rescue vessel? So yeah, I mean, kind of the idea is you eject out and then you would sort of float in space for a little while, and I guess you can sort of watch the battle, and then after a period of time, which I guess will determine, you would basically sort of hit the, whatever the equivalent escape key is, which would basically say, okay, I'm done now, I'm ready to sort of be respawned back on my closest, friendly planet or last location I was on. And then we'll probably sort of cut to a sort of in-game cinematic with you getting rescued by search and recovery or something like that. So essentially the idea is you eject, get out of it, so you sort of keep your life intact. You could sort of 0G look around, see what's happening out in space, and then after a certain minimum period of time, you can just sort of basically go, okay, I'm ready to go back to the last friendly planet or last friendly location I was on, and then we'll put you there. So I hope that answers that question. And yeah, we may think about having some techniques where, if you're in a battle or other stuff's going on, that some other friends that are like, say, a part of your organization or whatever, if they rescued you, there could be a benefit or a bonus for that, rather than just sort of have the auto game do it. But we haven't quite got there yet, but that's something that I'm pretty interested in doing, so I think it would help the cooperative gameplay again. Okay, so next question comes from Colonel Joseph, who asks, regarding instances in the persistent universe, since the changes that we are going to make in the universe will be permanent, what will happen if I accept a mission to hunt down an infamous pirate and someone else kills him while I'm on my way to the given coordinates? Well, the mission will no longer be valid or achievable. So I would assume what would happen in that case, and I'm not quite, I'm not sure whether it's like, okay, you need to kill this infamous pirate and here's exactly the location. My guess is we'll probably have the missions set up more like there's a big bounty for some really sort of high-level NPC bad guys, and whoever manages to achieve the bounty first is the one that gets the fame and fortune. And so essentially, if you're there and someone else has gotten there first, then you just like in real life, it's there's no there's no reward in that case for second place. So get there first, I guess, would be the answer. Next question comes from Desir, who asks, my question relates to partial damage and repair. For example, if you lost your port wing in a dogfight, which you were then able to win and limp home from, would the repaired starship have a bright and shiny port wing while the rest of the hull is somewhat weathered? Or will repair be a general thing which restores the entire ship to showroom quality? So what I'm assuming is, like, if you went back, and had your ship fixed up, maybe had the wing added onto it, probably what would happen is part of just a general sort of like repair and fix up is they will sort of bring up the rest of the ship, at least clean it up and not weather it as much. That'll be part of sort of the repair costs. But we have to sort of figure that out. But yeah, it would, it obviously would look kind of silly that one wing is nice and shiny and the other ones are all weathered. And generally the sort of overall wear and tear on the ship is on a global basis on the ship. So it's essentially something that we say, okay, it's got this much wear and tear, and it's a sort of a scale between 0 and 1, and that scale sort of increases over time, over engagements, and then occasionally when you take the ship in to a landing port, you can basically have it detailed, if you want to think of it that way, or put into a repair shop, and then they'll sort of roll everything back a little bit. So probably it will even it all out, and it'll be part of the sort of standard repair process. Probably won't roll all the way back to completely pristine, but everything will sort of get to be at a fairly level, fairly even level across the ship. Okay, next question comes from Vendaval, who asks, will asteroid fields be depicted forming a ring around a central star, or will they be localized debris fields in a concrete region of a star system, as in Freelancer? I think we're probably going to have a combination of both in Star Citizen. So there will definitely be asteroid fields, in various areas of the system, and then we'll probably have some, sort of ringing. Depends. I mean, in general, if they're in various instances around the system, they're actually really always going to be sort of in a ring or some broken up ring around the central star. But there'll be definitely pockets of asteroid fields around the system. So I guess the answer on this one would be kind of both. But there'll definitely be some localized debris fields where you'll sort of find debris and some other stuff in the various systems. So I don't know if I've answered that question very well, but I guess it will be kind of like Freelancer and kind of like other things. There you go. Next question comes from 6 Joe, who asks, will there be a social module? If so, how are we going to talk to people? Voice, text, or something very new? So yes, we're planning on having sort of a planet-side module, which also could be the social module. And that's really sort of to develop the buying and selling stuff down on a planet, and then, say, in the bar, interacting with other players and talking to them. So we're looking at various ways to do the communicating. Obviously, there'll be the sort of standard sort of chat window stuff, which you've seen a lot before. So we'll have that, but we're more excited by one of the things we're playing with is this thing called Live Driver, which will allow you to have your webcam look at your face, and you can sit on your computer and speak like I'm speaking to you right now. And then if you are watching. You were playing the game, and in your version of the client, you would see my actual avatar mouth moving while you were hearing my voice. So if we have that happening, which we've got some early tests that look very promising, I think it will allow a lot more of immersion in the in sort of the interaction areas. And then the only issue we have is we need to have some control for basically being able to make sure that people can't be obnoxious or rude or grief people like verbally. So we're still figuring out kind of how we may be able to police that. Whether we'd allow people, like you would need an invite, say, hey, is it okay this person talks to you? And you say yes, and then you can do all that, or not. But we're going to really try and push it on the sort of communication and immersion side. So the Live Driver thing, I think, could be very immersive and very cool. Okay, so next question comes from Baron, who asks, will the dogfight module support any kind of lobby matchmaking system? Will we be able to launch the simulator with a bunch of friends or members of our associated organizations? Do we have the flexibility to set up matches with particular individuals that we add on a friends list? Yes, the dogfighting module is going to have a full lobby matchmaking system. Dogfight V1, which is the first thing that we'll be releasing in 2-3 weeks or so. It's going to be in May. Probably third week of May, I would think, would be a full rollout, but we'll sort of see. We'll be doing a slower rollout second week onwards, just to sort of scale it. But in the case of the dogfighting module at the beginning, you will be able to join. If you're in a sort of rank match, you sort of get auto matched to other people. And then if you want to set up a private game, you can say, oh, here's my private game, and you can give your code out to your friends, and then they can join. So you could tell your members of the organization or friends, type this code in, and this is how you'll join my match. So that's the basic stuff that will be in a Dogfight V1. But there is, Dogfight V1.1 or 1.2. We have a full plan for a full lobby system where you'll be able to do pretty much everything you can do in most multiplayer games in terms of lobby systems. So yes, you'll be able to set it up for anyone in your organization can join. You can launch it. You can make a private match, public match, etc., etc. To be in one of the ranked matches, you have to be part of sort of our matchmaking system, which means that you basically get what our matchmaking server does, because obviously we want to make sure that when you're getting ranked, it's against random opponents, basically, not people that you've set up to be able to beat easily. Okay, next question comes from Jof Gamer, who asks, I found that the 5 million pledge gave us voice acting in Squadron 42. I have searched far and wide for information on Star Citizen voice acting. My question, therefore, is, will Star Citizen be fully voice acted, partially or not at all? Okay, so there's two things here. Squadron 42 obviously is going to be a full, we're actually in the process of planning it right now. We're going to do a full motion capture, performance capture, so very similar to what's done in Avatar, where you have the full actors running around in bodysuits and cameras on their head, and that will all translate into the game. And we have a pretty, I think, strong and compelling story for Squadron 42. I'm pretty excited by it. It's going to be as big and rich as any Wing Commander I've done, possibly quite a bit beyond that. So that'll be Squadron 42 itself will be as big as any. If I was making another new Wing Commander now for EA or so on, Squadron 42 would be that, to the same level of polish and presentation. So we have that, and then on top of that, running around Star Citizen, yes, the NPCs that you would meet or you would talk to will all have, they'll all be voice acted, and we'll probably have some level of performance capture for them. So it sort of depends. So there'll be sort of the more generic people that wouldn't have the same fidelity as, say, some of the more specific or NPCs that you may run across. But we'll have everything from sort of a kind of more generic sort of background person, whether it's a bartender or something, to a sort of specific character that's in the universe that we would actually do the same level of motion and facial capture that we would do on Squadron 42. So it's going to be pretty, I think, compelling and immersive, hopefully. So we're going to start shooting a lot of that starting August or September of this year. So both for the Persistent Universe, which is Star Citizen, and for Squadron 42. And it will be a long process, but I think will be pretty awesome once you get to wander around in all of it. Okay, next question comes from Eraticus, who asks, what happens to the bodies of players killed during boarding actions? Will they need to be physically dragged to the nearest airlock, or will there be some other solution? What we were thinking was that if someone gets killed in a boarding action, and if members of your team, essentially trying to board the ship or vice versa, manages to recover the body and get it back to a med bay, and some of the bigger ships will have med bays, or you've got a certain time limit to get the body to, say, a med station, or something like that, like maybe on a station or down on a planet. If you manage to do that, you have a chance of saving the life of that player. So in terms of the number of lives you go through, in sort of the idea of every character will have a finite life, and the kind of idea is, sort of like a cat. You've got so many lives before you properly die, and then you have to move on to a new character in the universe, which was all described in my Death of a Spaceman post a while ago. But what we were thinking is it would be a nice gameplay element that it would encourage people to sort of try and recover either the wounded or sort of incapacitated bodies of friends to get them back. So maybe you'll go on a boarding action and you'll fail, so you'll sort of lick your wounds, grab your fallen comrades, get them back on your ship, and then hightail it off somewhere to try to, maybe go to some, shady pirate fix-up doctor somewhere so you can get fixed and not lose your life. So that's what the solution is. If you abandon your friend there, I think what we'd probably do is you lose a life, and at some point we sort of detach the body that would be sitting on your ship, which would probably allow you to be able to vent or put out the ship, but that wouldn't preclude the person that actually lost his life being able to respawn on a planet. They just sort of at that point separate in terms of characters. So we probably don't want to have a body just magically disappearing on board a ship. So anyway, that's kind of our plan and thinking on that. So next question comes from Dr. Tran, who asks, the Constellation is listed as having a max crew of 4, but clearly there are positions for 6 crew members. Are there plans to expand the 4 sleeping bays to 6, or are the 4 crew members supposed to switch between positions depending on the situation? So yes, so the idea is on the Constellation that there's really 4 crew members, and you can have them deployed, 1 person sort of piloting the ship, 2 in each one of the turrets, and then 1 flying the Merlin in sort of close air support. And if you're not sort of in the combat situation, then a couple of the other, members of the crew can sit in the seats besides the sort of captain's helm chair that's in the center. So the answer really is, it's really a 4 crew ship, but there's options for where the 4 crew, what stations they want to be at. Okay, last question of the 10 comes from Kinshadow, who asks, in the past Wing Commander games, capital ships could not be damaged by traditional weapons and missiles. Do you see this being true in the Star Citizen persistent universe? For instance, would a Hornet fighter even be able to damage an Idris Corvette or Javelin destroyer? Or would a Gladiator or Retaliator be needed to be even in that fight? So I definitely think that you would be able to do damage to bigger ships in smaller ships. So I don't think we're going to have an artificial limitation saying, oh, well, if you're only in you're in a Hornet, you can't damage this capital ship. But like anything, the amount of damage that your ship can mete out is sort of proportional to what you deliver. So obviously something like a Retaliator with some big ship-to-ship torpedoes can really do some damage to a bigger ship like a destroyer or a Corvette. But that's not to say that a team of Hornets working together couldn't cripple like an Idris Corvette. Because they certainly will be able to sort of come in, strafe, try and shoot the turrets, and there'll certainly be weak spots on some of the bigger ships that you could potentially do some crippling damage in. But in general, the goal would be to take out the bigger ships. What we would like to have is sort of a combined arms situation. So, you've got some Hornets for the air superiority, and then people coming with Gladiators or Retaliators to really sort of do the heavy damage. So that would be the ideal way, but there definitely should be cases where you'll be able to inflict some damage even if you don't have the heavy guns like a Retaliator. So it won't be like the Wing Commander where you needed a capital ship torpedo to take out a capital ship, but you certainly won't be able to just put a bunch of laser blasts into an Idris Corvette and expect it to blow up. I mean, we're modeling damage accurately, we're modeling the different parts of it accurately, so you'll basically can be doing localized damage, and potentially some of that localized damage could be fairly impactful or crippling on the ship, but if you really want to split it in 2, you probably have to put a ship torpedo into it. Okay, so there you are. That's the 10 questions for this week. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. I'd like to thank all of you for supporting the game. It's pretty amazing how far we've come in such a short period of time. We're working really hard on the dogfight module to get it out to all you guys. And thank you to all the subscribers that contribute money to enable us to do this and a lot of other community support and work. And I will catch you next week. Bye.